Welcome to Embedded. I'm Alicia White alongside Christopher White. And this week we are going to answer some questions. We're going to start with one. PlatformIO, PlatformIO. What for art thou, PlatformIO?
I believe it's preferred to be PlatformIO, but...
Even Kravets is here to tell us exactly what PlatformIO is. And we're going to talk about compilers, boards, and platforms.
Hi, Ivan. Thanks for joining us.
Hi all.
Could you tell us about yourself as though we met at a conference?
Sure. My name is Ivan, and I'm the founder of PlatformIO. I started it as a hobby project in 2014. However, for the last 3 years, it's my full-time job, and I'm so happy. Today, I'm responsible for all aspects around PlatformIO: the business, marketing, architecting, and even technical support if someone needs it. As for my hobbies, I think the favorite is skiing and engineer. Also, in the spare time, I like to play piano and time to time compose some music when inspiration comes to me. Actually, some of my works are published in my personal blog, and you can visit it by ikravets.com. And yes, I am from Ukraine.
Okay, well, then we are definitely going to talk about what exactly it is, because it's more than an IDE. But before that, we're going to do lightning round, where we ask you short questions and we want short answers. And if we're behaving ourselves, we won't ask you how and why and all of the other things.
Okay.
What's your favorite animal?
It's dog, but I don't have it.
What is your favorite microcontroller?
It's a very difficult question because we support around 500, and it's not good if I would say the favorite. It's like the advertisement for some architecture. But I have different microcontrollers.
Do you want to choose 2 or 3? I mean, out of 500, you have to have some that are better in your mind than others.
Yes. Yes. I think it's Texas Instruments because I have this Launchpad board, and it works for 4 years uptime for this board, no any issues. I think it is great for the enterprise products.
Which board was that?
It's Launchpad. It's Texas Instruments.
Launchpad. Okay. Yeah.
If you had to bring a toolbox and get lost on a desert island, what would be in it?
No.
A satellite phone.
Even don't know the answer.
All right.
What is the worst thing about the Arduino IDE?
So it's really the processing IDE, not the Arduino IDE. Is that the label? But what is really the great that is this platform allows different people, not only advanced, but for the beginners, for the students. And I think that we should say big thank you for the authors of this platform. I mean, like Fernando Barragan, who did his research around this platform.
If one were to visit Kiev, what should they see first?
Nice question. I think you should go to our river, like Dnipro River. It's very nice. We have some streets around this, but you need more than one day.
Where is it we should go? I didn't quite get it.
So we have the river named Dnipro. This river,
the river.
Yes,
okay.
This river splits our city into left and right parts. It's very interesting because there are a lot of nice views from the different points, but also we have a lot of museums, churches. Good. Also, we have really good national food, like kuchin in Ukraine.
Well, he's talking me into it, yeah.
You are welcome.
Do you have a tip everyone should know?
So I think it's classic tip, like a KISS. You know this KISS principle? keep it simple, stupid. And I use this tip or principle every time. I try to do everything as simple as much as I can. And
that's a good one. So PlatformIO, getting away from lightning round. How do you describe it to people who've never heard of it?
Yes. So in Ukraine, I call it like PlatformIO. Because
you do call it PlatformIO.
No, it's okay. I mean, like locally we call it like PlatformIO, but normally maybe it should be PlatformIO. But what I really don't like when people split platform and IO.
Yes.
Because there is separate site, platform.io. It's not our website. It's really the mistake. And so, what is PlatformIO? Like in a nutshell, it's maybe like the Swiss knife for embedded development, because you can just enter to our ecosystem and you will receive everything. What do you need? This is build system, multi-platform build system, library management with dependencies and semantic versioning, built-in integration with continuous integration services. Of course, debugging, unit testing, like this.
That's a lot. I mean, it's almost overwhelming a lot.
Yes, but I think that's the key feature of the PlatformIO, or is better to say this is the main philosophy of the PlatformIO, is that we don't force our customers to use specific operating system or IDE. It's just really why we are totally opposite to this embedded market. Because we allow our user to decide the combination from the operating system and IDE.
So for someone who maybe is used to proprietary development systems like IAR, would you say that PlatformIO is kind of, okay, this is the open source version of IAR, or is it something more?
So it depends what we will try to compare, because IAR is not only the IDE. So we have the editor, yes, like editor within the IAR, and we have the compiler. And I think that the main benefits of IAR is their compiler, because it's really with good optimization. But if we talk about the PlatformIO, we use GCC, we use free and open source toolchains for code compiling. And again, IAR works only on Windows. And if you back again to the PlatformIO, you can use Windows, Mac, Linux, FreeBSD, and even a Raspberry Pi or similar car-sized PC, because PlatformIO is written in Python. It's pure Python implementation, and we don't have any dependencies to the operating system. Just where the Python works, PlatformIO works too. It's very easy. It's fully open source, free.
One of the other things that IAR has is the ability to work with many microcontrollers and to provide some libraries related to those microcontrollers, CMSIS and hardware abstraction layers. PlatformIO has some of that as well, right?
Yes, but I think it's better to explain from the other side. So the RISC PlatformIO core, this is like an engine, which consists from the build system, library dependency things, package management, and there is separate site called PlatformIO Development Platform. That is really where a silicon vendor or software provider will describe PlatformIO core, how to build source code, how to do uploading, how to do debugging. So, and I mean that silicon vendor are responsible to provide the things like frameworks which you described before, and things related to the tool chains and specific build flags and other things, because PlatformIO has decentralized architectures. And you can create the multiple different development platforms. But in case, for example, with IAR, you can't do that. You just should follow their rules and use the only what they provide you, because it's totally closed source. There is no source code for the IAR. You just need to use what they provide you.
Oh, yeah. And we're picking on IAR, but it's any of the closed source ones is what we're sort of comparing to, Kyle and whatnot. But with those, you get a series of checkboxes. As you start a new project, you get a flow, and you don't have to make a lot of decisions.
Well,
Yes.
Well, I mean,
you're guided through the decisions.
You're guided through the decisions with your handheld. Does PlatformIO have something along those lines?
Yes, I think we have a little bit different workflow because, for example, if you start project with IR, you start it from the microcontroller. Yes, you select the family, you select the microcontroller. But in case with the platform, you select the board. This is really maybe the first our issue, which we should fix soon, and we have the feature request in our repository on the GitHub, like to allow the start project for the microcontroller, because today we support around 600 different boards, and sometimes it's not easy to do some development if we don't support this board. For example, you have development board on your table based on some ST Microchip, yes, but in production you prefer to use a little bit different chip, and there is no development board for this chip, like nuclear board or other board. And there are some tricky to work with the PlatformIO, but I mean, for example, if you would like to use this Arduino or ARM-based framework, but if you are good with low level like STM32Cube, there is no problem.
Okay. If I was an Arduino developer, I was new at doing development, and I had a board, say an ESP32 board, because those are so very popular. And yet the Arduino processing interface for them is at best. How do I get started with PlatformIO?
Actually, it's very easy because if you open our PlatformIO home, this is addition to the IDEs which we support. It's our separate component, and there is the button called Import Arduino Project. You will just select the folder where is your sketch for the Arduino. You press import, and you will receive totally ready project for the PlatformIO. Because in the 99% Arduino projects, that is just one file, one sketch file. It's very easy, like to import or manually to copy this file to the source project folder in the PlatformIO.
But then the Arduino ecosystem has a lot more to it. One of the reasons I don't usually want it for clients is because there are many hidden files, and you can't, setup and loop get called by a main somewhere else. Do you provide a way to export the processing hidden internals?
So the first, that that Arduino uses own build system, and it means that you can't control their build flow. This is the big problem, because you can't modify any build flags. You can't pass some extra macros if you need. This is why we see a lot of instruction by library developers, whereas they explain that you should go to the Arduino some internal files and edit the source directly. But if we talk about PlatformIO, so we have different application interfaces where you are able to control whole build process. If you need to pass some extra flags, you will just go to the platformio.ini configuration file. This is really the main file, and you can pass extra flags. But if you prefer, for example, to switch to the different tool chain, or you prefer to change build logic, or to switch totally to different upload tools, you can go to the development platform, which I mentioned before, for example, for the AVR, and you can modify our source code, or you can use advanced scripting based on Python. And with the PlatformIO, you are able to control whole process. If you are a beginner, it will look for you not more complicated like Arduino. It will be the same. If you need more advanced control, we are ready to provide you it at any level.
Sometimes when people are switching from the Arduino ecosystem to a more professional one, I recommend Mbed because they have a large support library and they have many processors and development boards that they support. When should I recommend PlatformIO? Is it instead of Mbed? Is it after Mbed? Is it, how do you compare?
Yes, I think that the big problem that is, like you mentioned, I recommend for example, next year, we will have yet another platform or framework, and you will try to say, yet we again recommend. And every time your customer, they change environment. Every time they lost time to learn new environment, new instruments, that is actually what they will do if they try to switch from Arduino to the Mbed. Because in case with the Arduino, they have their IDE. It's very easy, but if they move to the ARM Mbed, they have just a few options. So this is their online compiler, or you need to install the command line tool. A lot of things you need to pre-install, manually manage tool change, and a lot of complicated things. But again, if we back to the PlatformIO, if someone today uses Arduino, it's very easy to switch to the ARM Mbed. You will need just to change one line in our configuration file. You will just change framework equal Mbed instead of framework equal Arduino. And after that, PlatformIO automatically understand what to do with your project. It will automatically install the latest ARM Mbed framework. We automatically use proper tool chain. We automatically use proper upload tools. So this is very good because you will keep the same development environment. You don't need to switch to new IDE because you will decide what to use. If you prefer to do that from the Vim or Emacs from the command line, you will use the same workflow for Arduino or for ARM Mbed. And even again, if you try to switch to the STM32 Cube or a real-time operating system other, you will keep the same workflow.
You also have an IDE, though.
Yes, that is actually why people mostly think that PlatformIO is this IDE. If we back again to the PlatformIO history, like 4 years ago, starting from 14 years up to 16, we didn't have own IDE because PlatformIO was just PlatformIO core, just command line tool. But we had huge problem that people not all people would like to install separately PlatformIO core, and after that run some command like PlatformIO init type of the IDE and press enter. After that, you go to your IDE. We support today around 10 different IDEs. You press file, import project. It could be Eclipse, Qt, different IDEs. And this is really the big problem. And that is why we started a work on the official extensions for the different IDEs. So the first experimental project was Atom by GitHub. Why we used Atom? Because it was very easy for us to create this extension, because I forgot to mention that I have a huge experience with web development, because I am a web developer in the past, and embedded, this is my hobby, or it's better to say it was hobby before the PlatformIO. And now this is my main job, but I am not electronic engineer and I don't have electronic education. This is actually hobby, which was converted to the full-time work. And again, if you back to my history with the web development, I have some experience, and I spent 1 week, just 5 or 6 days, and I created the first version of extension for the Atom. And the same for the Visual Studio Code, just a few days, and we have this extension. But what we want really to do today, or it's better to say that our main goal is to have official extensions for the most popular IDEs, because it's very easy. It's very easy to get started with PlatformIO when you will just do 3 steps. First, you install your favorite IDE. Second, you navigate to the extension or package stores of your IDE. And third, you type PlatformIO IDE, press enter, install this extension, restart your IDE, and you receive full-featured IDE. That's actually what you will receive with the Atom or Visual Studio Code today. But again, we just do that just to eliminate this barrier when people want to try to work with the PlatformIO.
Working with the PlatformIO means you get access to libraries and header files, register files, and hardware abstraction layers. But that also means you support, you said 500 processors? And many libraries and boards and IDEs. How do you manage the complexity of all of that?
He's very busy.
I think so.
So I think it's good to explain in a nutshell the architecture of the PlatformIO. So there is the first level, like bottom level. There is development platform. Again, where we explain and describe PlatformIO build system, how to build the source code of the framework, not only of the project. That is actually where we have the issues with the libraries, but I mean not third-party libraries, but libraries related to the framework. Because, for example, if we have Arduino framework, we have some built-in libraries in this framework. The same, if we talk with ARM embed, we have some libraries inside this framework. It could be real-time operating system, it could be networking libraries. If we add support for some version of the framework, like Arduino, ARM embed, or other framework, we explain using the Python scripting language. We explain our build system, how to build this framework and its library. But if you later in your project include some header files from one of these libraries, our PlatformIO build system and its library dependency finder will automatically find this library, include this library into the build process, build it and link it on the final stage. I mean that you don't need to manually control these libraries or provide some things how to build these libraries. Of course, you can turn off this feature, but it's enabled by default in the PlatformIO. You will also see a very nice dependency graph, where you will see how your project depends on different libraries. You will see which version of the libraries will be used in the build process. It's very cool. But if we go to the second level, the level where there is third-party libraries, the libraries which you can install from our PlatformIO library registry, like libraries from the community. In this case, we are not responsible for the source code and for the build process, but we introduced to our community the manifest file called library.json, where you can also explain, or is better to say instruct our build system how to build your library. If you don't do that, your manifest is empty, or just you just specify the name of the library and not build things. We will try automatically recognize the type of your library, or this is Arduino library, or this is ARM embed library, or this is expressive IDF component. And after that, if we understand the type of your library, we automatically try to build this library in the standards provided by the vendor of the software. For example, you know that there are some requirements have to build the Arduino library. There is also a lot of things have to build REmbed library, because they also have huge registry, and they have extra manifests. For example, in case with REmbed, they have own manifests like embed.json, embed app.json, where users can tune some things related to the embed operating system. And of course, we also follow these requirements and parse these files and use this in the build and the final build process.
Okay, so we have a layer that has the libraries that are from the, I want to say vendors, but sort of from the vendors, sort of from the compiler makers. And then we have a library that is from your library index, where people can post their own libraries. What about debuggers? How do you decide what to support, and how do you integrate with the debuggers? Is it more like embed, where everything is printf, or can I step through my code?
So yes, you can do like serial printing, like printing debugging to the console. This is not a problem. It's actually what people do with Arduino IDE or similar project. But we have thing named PlatformIO Unified Debugger, which we introduced 1 year ago, and we call it like one-click debugger, because it's really unique debug engine in the market, because you don't need to specify or customize any settings per your project and per your debug probe. We follow the same, or better to say, we keep the same principle and the same philosophy within the PlatformIO, where I will just explain PlatformIO, what is your board, what is your framework, what is your development platform, and what is your debug probe. For example, if you have project, so let's imagine we have some project based on this SiFive or SiFive 32, which you mentioned before, and now you can use different debugging probes. Yes, you can use some ESP-proc, or you can use Oddwires, their debugger. And within PlatformIO, you will just specify in platformio.ini file debug_tool equal and the name of the probe. After that, our engine automatically understands how to debug your board. We know which debugging server to start. We know which initial commands we should pass to debug server, because it's very between development platforms. For example, if you go to the ARM-based development platforms, there are a lot of different debugging interface, like DAP-Link, SimSysDAP. You can use Blackmagic probe where there is no debugging server, or if you would like to use J-Link. And if you will try to do that manually, there are a lot of work for you. You will need a lot of work. Even if you try to switch just from J-Link to yet another debugger, you need to pre-configure a lot of different things. You need to Google, you need to find, or you need to read some data sheet from your debug probe, how to do debugging. But with PlatformIO, you will just change one line, you will just explain my debug probe is this. And after that, we have the combination of 5 things like board, platform, debug tool, framework. And after that, joining all this data, we understand how to do proper debugging for your board. That with this configuration, you can move between different IDEs. For example, today you use Eclipse. Tomorrow you can even open Sublime Text Editor and press the same F5 button, and your debugging session will be established with the same configuration. No need to do extra steps.
Since you're doing all this in the background, well, not in the background, but
yes, you are.
You're setting up all these debug parameters and invoking the right things. that seems like a big challenge because things do go wrong even when everything's correctly set up. Like, for example, with JLink and JDB server, I know sometimes things just get wedged and I have to murder everything and start over. Do you provide any kind of help there in intelligence to say, hey, we're unable to talk? GDB server is informing us that we're unable to talk to your board. We'll restart it. Or is it kind of, it worries me a little bit when things are completely in the background because then I can't tell when something's wrong. So when something is wrong, how do you service that?
Yes. So the first, there are two ways how you can use this platform unified debugger. You can use it from the command line. In this case, you will see all the issues with your debugging server. But in case, for example, with the IDE or Visual Studio Code extension, which we have, there is a debug console where I will print different things into the console. Also, there is extra settings where you can enable advanced debugging information. You will see full communication interface between Visual Studio Code front end and backend side. And also there is the console, command line, where I can pass extra commands. If you need, for example, to pass some extra commands to your debug server, you will just type monitor, prefix the command, and after that, just type some subcommands of your debugging server, and you will see some answer or status of your debug server.
So you hide a lot of the complexity, but most of it is pretty easy to get to if you have problems or want to have the control beyond what a normal user might want.
Yes. So every time we try to make everything as simple as we can. But again, if you need some full control, even in case with the debugging, you can use a lot of different pre-configuration things. It's better to go to our documentation, where you will see that you can control this debugging engine with a lot of different things. You can even specify your own debug server, command for initialization command, or things related for the debug monitor. A lot of things you can control this from this unified PlatformIO.ini file.
Okay, so we've talked about IDEs and compilers and debuggers and libraries. This seems like a lot of work, but it's an open source project. How do you get paid?
Nice question. So today we have business to developer models called PlatformIO Plus, where we provide some extra features, extra tools for our developers. For example, this PlatformIO Unified Debugger and Unit Testing Engine. These features are not free, but that is not. So I mean that is not our plan to make these features free. To make these features paid, because this is a great solution for us to be independent from any silicon vendors and to keep PlatformIO project alive and to be tolerant to any architectures or any boards. And my dream is to have everything in the PlatformIO free for everyone. That is my dream. Because when I started this project 5 years ago, I created domain platformio.org. I didn't create platformio.com because my vision was like PlatformIO should be not for tomorrow, not for this year, but for 10 years or 20 years. And every time I think about PlatformIO like a project for the years, not for the months. And last year was very important for us because we had a lot of conversation with elite silicon vendors. And I hope that our community will be surprised this year because we planned to make some things free and open source also, which we made today in the PlatformIO Plus. And it should be really win for both of us, not only for the developers, but for the silicon vendors too. because you know that there is the huge problem today in the market. If you are a silicon vendor, and you will need and you want to create your own IDE, you will need to spend a lot of resources. I don't mean only financial resources. I told about the time. It could be 6 months, it could be 1 year. But in case with the PlatformIO, you don't need to spend these efforts. No, you will just create a development platform for the PlatformIO, provide integration. It's very easy. 100 lines of the code. You explain PlatformIO how to build source code for your architecture, and your product is ready for the market. This is great because PlatformIO offers quick integration for market-ready processor, and it reduces time to market costs. No need to wait 6 months, and this is very important for the RISC-V. Yes, it's open source architecture because there are a lot of small companies which which provide some IP cores, IP processor. And for them, it's so expensive to create yet another IDE based on the Eclipse. Because if you try to summarize from the top silicon vendors, 99% of them has own IDE based on the Eclipse. And if you have 5 or 10 different boards on your table, you will need to install 10 different Eclipse in your system.
You've described my computer very well. Thank you.
Yes, and I think that is not, I mean, this is big problem not only for the silicon vendors but also for the end user. Because every time you switch between these IDEs, and you need to understand what I changed this, I forgot what I changed this, and again a lot of machine resources. It's like 2 gigabytes per one instance of the Eclipse. And our aim is to make PlatformIO really like real organization where every silicon vendor can participate in our improvements. I really dream about PlatformIO Foundation, and I'm ready to move whole source code and IP to this foundation. This is actually my goal.
That is it very cool, very public-facing goal, but it will need financing from the chip vendors or some organization, because it is a never-ending goal. There will always be new boards. There will always be new debuggers. There will always be new compilers. It just will go on. And then there's the library aspect, which is partially based on vendors, which change constantly, and partially based on your users. So it does require continuing effort. And I guess you kind of hinted maybe there will be an announcement and I should stop because I can't ask you directly that question, can I?
Yes, you can.
Do you think that funding will allow you to be a .org, to allow you to be an ongoing project that is not necessarily profitable, but at least supports the developers who are working on it?
So the first, if we talk about PlatformIO.org, we don't talk about some big money here, yes? Because the main goal of both of us, not only me, but also of the silicon vendors, just to save resources and make happy our customers. And again, for example, if the same silicon vendor will try to create this idea, you know that it's not enough for one engineer for this idea. But let's imagine that the expenses for the one engineer per year, we will just donate to the PlatformIO.org. And if we do that together with 10 or 15 silicon vendors, we will have some good financial, and we can hire 5, 10 developers, and it's enough to maintain the PlatformIO.org. But again, I don't see on the PlatformIO.org, or it's better to say I don't plan to monetize PlatformIO.org. Because as I mentioned before, it should be, I think it should be like the new standard, because there is new vision in the embedded market. And it would be great if we together maintain this platform, and we will help not only silicon vendors, but also students, universities. Because instead of working with one IDE or one architectures, students will be able to use different architectures, different boards. Today, they can use, for example, AVR. Tomorrow, they will use RISC-V or similar to that, or ARM. I mean, it's very easy. No need to reprint book materials in the school, because one tutorial will work for the years. We explain one time how to use PlatformIO, and after 10 years, we will just explain you will need to change the one line platform equal some platform with new architecture. It's very cool. But again, if we back to the silicon vendor, even if they try to spend some resources making an IDE, they will just work on the one IDE. But what to do if we will have yet another editor tomorrow? You will need again to spend resources to create your branded IDE based on this editor. That is really second problem in the market. You can't quickly be ready for the new IDEs or new editors. But within the PlatformIO, we do that. If you use, for example, if your hardware is integrated with the PlatformIO today, you automatically receive access to our 10 popular IDEs. Again, from the other side, if we have yet another better IDE or text editor tomorrow, within the PlatformIO, we will try in a few days to add support for this IDE. And your customers automatically receive support for this IDE. You don't need to spend again resources how to do that. Our goal that silicon vendors, hardware vendors, they should be focused on the hardware. And the software part, it's very similar for all hardware. I mean, like interface for debugging, build process, and different things, they are similar. The only things which differs between them, this is build flags, tool chains, and as I mentioned before, we do that in the totally separated development platforms, where every vendors can control how to build this software.
I really like the idea of consistency. I mean, I'm working with a new IDE, and F5 does not do what F5 should do. And F7, I think, just deletes the whole project or something. I know that that's a minor thing, but it slows me down. Mm-hmm. And not knowing...
Well, especially in embedded, because each project is sometimes on a different processor and a different framework, and so everything changes all the time. Whereas if you're a desktop developer or a phone developer, you're in Apple's thing or you're in the Android studio, and that you don't go anywhere, and things stay the same. But for embedded, yeah, we're always switching between IAR and GCC and your favorite editor, and it's very confusing.
It is. I really like this idea.
Yes, but for example, what to do if you have a team from 10 engineers and some of them prefer to work on Windows, some prefer to work on Mac, and some on Linux?
It's a big problem.
But with PlatformIO, no problem, because PlatformIO.ini is this INI file. It's common file between different operating system and IDEs, and you can concurrently work on the same project. This is a really huge benefit. You decide. Even if you decide to work from the command line, it's very easy. And again, if you use IR and you do some change in your project, you will need to ask your team members to do this change also in their IDEs. And in case with the PlatformIO, you will just do one-time change in the common file for the project, and after that, you can commit this change to the source control version system, and your change will automatically reflect it on the machine of your team members. No need to replicate these things.
Switching subjects, you mentioned RISC-V. We have gotten a few emails asking us to talk more about RISC-V, but haven't done it yet. What is RISC-V?
Nice. So RISC-V. This is open source architectures. I will try to be so accurate because again we support a lot of different architectures, and we try to be tolerant to the different architectures. But at the end of the 18 years, like previous year, we had so huge event in the Silicon Valley called RISC-V Summit, and I participated in this event. We have a small table. It's not the booth, small table, and we met a lot of different people, and also I can say the lead people from the different silicon vendors. And I was really surprised, because it's our 1,000 attendees. This conference, not only the conference, because it was 4 days. It was 2 days of the conference, 2 days of exhibition, and some pre-conference parties. It was really cool. And why I really impressed, because I saw a lot of different projects and IP cores based on the open source instruction set. It's really cool. Because, for example, today, if you would like to create your own processor, I don't talk that you should pay for this IP core to some IP core provider, but I mean that you don't know what is inside in this IP core. This is like, let's imagine that you want to create the robot, yes, but someone will provide you the head of this robot, and you can change this head. You just can connect some arms, legs, but you don't know what is inside the head. But in case with the RISC-V, you can create. I mean, the first, you know what is inside. The second, you can create your IP core. And if we talk about huge corporation, because you know that Western Digital and a lot of companies, they announced that they will switch totally to the RISC-V. We know that this architecture will allow them to save a lot of financial resources.
Okay, I think I want to go back because there are going to be some people out there who don't really know how these cores work. If you want an ARM Cortex M0 or M4F, normally as a developer, you go pick up a board from ST or NXP or whoever. But those people have made microcontrollers based on ARM's Cortex M whatever. And they buy that core from ARM, and it is hugely expensive. Even just getting some of the material is hugely expensive. And ARM is pretty voracious in taking licensing money.
Well, that's their business.
Yes.
It is indeed. And I do like their cores, so I'm not going to say that's bad. Just if you are thinking about making your own processor, which you really shouldn't. If you're making less than $1 million of something, or you're making something...
Maybe less than $1 billion.
making something that is going to cost less than $1 million, you should not be making your own core. Or you should not be making your own processor. Processors are super expensive. And having to license ARM or having to set up the ARM core development, the IP for them, is expensive. So RISC-V is a core. I don't know how it compares to the Cortex line. I think it's in the M area. I don't think it's a big processor. Do you know?
Yes. So the first, we can't compare RISC-V with Cortex M, because Cortex M, this is some specific core with some features. I mean, it's better to compare RISC-V with ARM, because left and right side, we talked about architectures. If you want to compare, for example, Cortex M with something, it's better, for example, to go to the SiFive. Maybe you have heard SiFive, the public company, which provides different IP cores based on RISC-V architectures, and they actually do this comparison. They have different families of their chips, whereas they compare like this IP core in comparison with ARM Cortex-M. You can see this comparison, you can see the benchmark things, but if we talk about RISC-V, we will just talk about instruction set. So this is the set. The same is the same with the ARM. It is not, so we can't talk just only with the Cortex-M0. But again, if you want to have your own processor based on the ARM, of course you need to pay them for the license. Yes, and what I know, so I'm not sure this is truly correct information, but you also need to pay some royalties. I mean, from each produced chip, you need to pay them 15% or more. I don't know. I mean, it's like two prices. The first, you need to pay for the IP core license. Where you now select is the Cortex-M or is like 7. They have a lot of different Cortex, and after that, you also need to pay the second. But I think my point of view, the problem is not to pay, because if we talk about huge monsters like huge companies, ST, Nordic, or different companies, they use ARM cores, and for them it's not the problem to pay. I think the big problem that if you have some specific requirements for your processor, you don't want to share these requirements with ARM. Let's imagine that I want to create some specific processor which will solve this, and this. And for example, the base generic cores in the ARM, they don't fit very well for my processor. And I want to have some specific individual core for my task. And it will be so expensive to do that with the ARM. But it's very easy with RISC-V because architecture is open source. A lot of universities, it's a huge community. I was really impressed because mainly what I saw, a lot of people in the universities work on own cores. It's great that today students learn how to make own processor, not how to use, but how to make. And I think it is great. It's great.
And I think that's great. But it's one of the reasons we haven't talked about RISC-V much, is that it is primarily a research project, or has been for a long time. At the conference, did you see it becoming a truly commercially viable core?
Sure. I was really impressed. For example, Western Digital, they announced their own core. I don't know, it's called like Swerve. It's their own core. And they announced they totally switched to the RISC-V, and they plan to use fully RISC-V in their products. It's the million devices. And again, if we will just talk about this example with the Western Digital, again, I'm sure that we don't talk only about the money where Western Digital saves. But what is really important, that they protect their IP. Because, if you talk about SSD or hard drives controllers, there are a lot of IPs around how to do that. And I'm sure that for them it's very cool because now they can create some specific, very well optimized core for their tasks. It should be a really low power, maybe some things related to the memory. I'm not so expert in that, but it's very cool.
I guess what I'm hearing that's interesting to me, that kind of has changed my mind a little bit, is like Alicia said, you shouldn't consider making your own
you really shouldn't.
SoC or processor, but RISC-V may be changing that by making it way easier and way more possible to do that, and that opens up a lot of opportunities for people to customize things in a way that they haven't been able to before. Does that sound accurate?
Yes.
It'll be nice to get away from the 8051 course.
Well, yeah.
Yes. Yes, maybe we need more time. I don't know, 1 year or 2. But I'm sure that this is the right way. This is actually what we did with the open source software. Because if we back again 10, 20 years before, everything was closed source. But take a look at the revolution which we did with the open source. I mean, about related to the software. And I think it will be really great for all of us if we will do the same with the hardware, with the processors, where everyone can create own processor for the specific task. It's really great. And again, you no need to worry about the millions you should pay to some IP cores providers, because it will be so cheap for you. Architecture is open source. You know what you need. You can merge together both things, and you have your. Because today it's very cheap. It's very cheap to print. It's very cheap to print your own processor. For example, if you pay for the N microcontrollers, we pay just $1 or similar to that. It means that the price for physical microcontroller is very cheap. The huge price, this is IP, intellectual property. And to print this chip, it's not expensive. And let's imagine that everyone can print your own chip. It will be really great.
Yeah, I mean, the silicon is cheap.
Yes,
it is?
It will look...
Yeah.
It will
Why? Last time I was at a fabless semiconductor company, we spent $350 million.
It will look the same how you today want to print your own PCB. You will just send some files and you receive your board. It maybe will look the same. Even today, you can go.
Cool.
You can go to the SiFive website. They have online configurator where you can configure your own IP core, press bill or order button, and you will receive your own customized core. Again, I don't promote this company. I don't know their prices, but I mean that this is actually what we would like to see in the future, where you can go, you can customize your own core, press build button, and you receive at your home your own chip with your own logo. It will be really amazing.
Let Osh Park know that they have to start making chips too.
Yes.
Okay, that was a great introduction to RISC-V, and now I want to go back to PlatformIO and ask a couple of listener questions.
Mm-hmm.
How do libraries get into your index? I guess I'll start there, and then I have a bunch more after that.
So there are a few ways how these libraries go to our registry. The first, we have some crawlers which go through the internet and analyze different library manifests. Second, you can manually submit your library to our registry. And third, we have some synchronizing mechanism where we synchronize our registry with Arduino libraries, RMembed, because you know that Arduino. Yes. And together today we support about 6,000 different libraries.
How can I safely use the libraries in my code without worrying about copyright issues?
So, I'm not expert in the legal aspects of the library's licenses,
sure.
But my point of view, if you use some library, yes, you will just use its API through the include or similar to that. You no need to worry about the lines of this library. But if you will try to modify this library or include this library in your project, yes, you need to be more careful with the license of this library. What I mean, because if you install library within the PlatformIO IDE, you will just press install button, but this library will not be installed in your. I mean, the source code of this library will not be copied to the source location of your project. The library will be some isolated path, and you will just use the API of this library. I think it's okay. That is actually what people do. I'm not sure that everyone modifies these libraries, but what we really want to do, we plan to create some some information on our website where people will see more detailed information about license information. And the same would be good maybe to print this information in our build system if the library is in GPL or similar to that, just to inform someone that this library is not MIT or similar to that.
The copyright you're describing, where if you don't go into the library, it's fine to use, you only use the public API, that's sort of the LGPL library, or LGPL copyright. Mm-hmm. And that is good, but do you track any of that with the library registration as part of the index? Do you tell them?
So the first, we have this manifest field with license, and people see the license of the library, but on the build process, we don't track this compatibility, license compatibility between different libraries. And maybe it's a good idea. Thank you so much. I will do some notes. Yes, it's really great. Maybe even to show in our dependency graph, because we have this dependency graph where we show the name of the library, we show the version, and I think this will be really informative if you will print the license type.
I would like that. That would be very helpful for me.
Thanks.
I'm always a little paranoid about libraries.
Do you know this the answer for this question? For example, if we have a GPL license, library based on the GPL license, and I don't include this library in my project, but use just only the API, should I also? I mean, is my project also affected by this license or not?
GPL, yes.
That's the thing, there's GPL, there's GPL v2, and then there's LGPL.
GPL v3 too.
Right.
GPL
God, these things
it means that I must also open source my project.
Yes, if you use, my understanding is if you use GPL in any form,
anything.
But
that taints your entire project. But if you use LGPL, that works the way you're saying, that you can use the API and you don't have to open source the rest of your project.
But a lot of things are GPL. For even Arduino, I'm not sure. But if you go to their source code, it's a GPL. Does it mean that everyone should open source their projects?
Yes.
Wow.
It does. Arduino is very sticky, and most people don't realize that a lot of it does have GPL licenses.
Wow.
Which could taint your project. This isn't something that's well enforced, but if you're trying to be an ethical, professional programmer, then it's something you should at least think about. So yeah, I would like to see that. I'm now asking for features on a program that I've installed but not used. That doesn't seem right. We can take that offline if you want. I don't want to get too far into copyright because I want to ask some more questions about your product.
Yes, but it looks so strange now in case with the Arduino, because even RMBet is Apache license. It's Apache license.
Apache is one of the nicest licenses.
Yes.
And so that anything Apache, you're safe to use.
But it's very strange with the Arduino, because they don't personally do any jobs. They don't maintain. I mean, that community maintain and support Arduino, and maybe community can change this license or not. Because if you go to their repository, of the Arduino IDE or similar to that, you will see that community together maintains this platform. I mean, not like Arduino.cc personally.
And once it's a community maintained GPL license, it is very, very hard to change that. In fact, I mean, I know when you have one or two developers, you can do it with permission of developers. But once you have a community, I don't know how many people you would need to agree to change the license.
So
Boy,
it's
that's weird.
historical issue.
Just to clear up, the core libraries, the Arduino core and libraries are LGPL. And the Arduino environment source code is GPL.
Right.
Community libraries may be whatever.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that would be where you'd enter into problems if you start bringing in community libraries that you're not tracking properly.
Like Adafruit has their sensor library.
Exactly.
And I know that one's safe. That one's Apache or Beerware or something very open. But if you're working with a vendor, an IMU vendor who has a library, you don't know. You have to check.
You have to check.
Thank you. I think it was very informative for our listener.
Okay, so do you think that having the library index is helping to shape the quality of the libraries available?
There are two sides of this medal. So there is the community libraries, and there are private libraries. And if we talk about the makers, I'm sure that the open source libraries are very important, and making them in our registry, and will it have some influence on the quality? I think yes, because more user will use this library, and if they have some issues, they can report this issue to the repository, and together we will make better and better this library. This is actually what we have is the PlatformIO. Let's imagine that the PlatformIO is closed source. In this case, it's very difficult to test and to improve it. But if we have it open source, everyone can review our source code, and everyone can provide us some feedback or request some feature requests. I think that open source and this open registry is cool for both sides, like for the library author and for the end users.
Okay, one more from the listener. First, Matt had to say that he's been using PlatformIO with ESP32, and it's made development so much better than when he was using the Arduino's IDE. So yay. But he wonders, do you see an increased priority or future priority for more programming and debug tools in the future of PlatformIO? And the example he gave was ICD3 from Microchip. What do you support Microchip development now? And do you look at doing more debug tools in the future? Is that high on your priority list?
So today we support three development platforms by Microchip. So this is AVR, this is SAM or SAM. I don't know what is the correct pronunciation. Atmel SAM, and the third is the PIC32. In case with SAM, we have debugging support for their SAM 21. Need to check. Around 10 boards, we support debugging for around 10 boards. But if we talk
sure, because that comes from Atmel.
If we talk,
and Atmel's good.
No, there is the problem that we don't have free cheap debugger for AVR or PIC32. And I told this Microchip a few times and asked them to provide some instruction how do they do debugging with Atmel Studio or within Microchip MPLab. They have this idea. But they don't want to see debugging for their hardware in other development environments. And that is actually the second problem when silicon vendors think on the PlatformIO like on the competitive environment. Because if they promote their own IDEs, they have control on their community. But let's imagine if you can debug through a different environment, you will lose this control. But this is actually the huge mistake. This is my point of view, because the more tools support your hardware, the more chips you will sell. This is actually the main business model of the Microchip, to sell more chips, not to see increased number of user by their MPLab environment. This is my point of view. Because
they would understand.
Yeah, it's mine too.
They don't make money on their idea, and why do they force? I don't know.
And let me tell you, it is not that good.
Yeah.
We would like to have support for the AVR, and there are also the issue. There are also some open source project debug. It's called Debug Wire, but it's not very well maintained and doesn't work very well. But there is no good GDB. There is no free or open source GDB debugger for. There is our RISC project, but it's also abandoned, and there is no debugging server similar to the OpenOCD, or similar to JLink GDB. There is no debug server for AVR. There are some proprietary which they use in the Atmel Studio and MPLab, but you can't go to their website and download it. You need to re-engineer their IDE, but that is unofficial, and you can't do that. Even with the JLink, you know that if you go to the JLink license, you can't redistribute their source code of their GDB server. Right. But we have official permission from them where they allow us to redistribute their software. And today, if you will try to debug some project with the JLink, PlatformIO will automatically install proper version and automatically runs this debugging server in the separate process. But we personally contacted JLink and asked them to make some specific, not like a license, some specific exclusion just for us, for our case.
Well, the good news is that I know we have listeners who work at Microchip, so maybe they can contact us. Maybe we can actually fix this. That would be so cool, because I would love to use PlatformIO instead of MPLab. Partially because I want to remap my keys, partially because I want editors I'm used to, partially because it just would be easier for my brain to have the same editor and same interface through different platforms. I'm a consultant. It's really nice to not have to remap my brain for every client. Although that is what I usually end up doing anyway.
You can actually go to their community forum they have for the Atmel, and you will see a lot of features, because Microchip also plans to close Atmel software framework, and I see people really they are not agree with the Microchip, and they want to move all customers to the Harmony framework and force them to use this MPLab. Actually, I don't know who provides this strategy. For me, it's like strategy 20 years ago. Maybe it works, but not today.
Microchip, you should be selling processors. We'll buy your processors if you stop trying to nickel and dime us on the software.
Yes, take a look at the ST Micro. I think they did really great work. Only 1 year ago, they bought, what is the name of this idea? I don't remember. Atolik Studio. Only 1 year ago, they bought this Atolik Studio. But a lot of years, they even didn't have open IDE. This is actually the same with the Espressive. They don't have open IDE. Why they need it? There are a lot of IDEs. Yes, they are actually focused on the hardware. That is the great, and both companies are so successful.
All right, I think we have kept you for long enough, and we certainly have covered plenty of things. Mm-hmm. Are there any thoughts you'd like to leave us with?
So, the first, I should say a big thank you for the invitation. And for everyone, we have very good proverb in the Ukraine, and I highly recommend to follow this proverb. In Ukraine, it sounds like eyes are afraid, but hands are doing the job. But I tried to Google and found in the internet there is English version called like, you never know what you can do till you try. And actually, this is really the huge problem, and the same with me. Every time if I see something complicated, I will just remember this proverb and try to do. And I wish everyone, if you want to do something, you will try to find time for something other, just repeat this proverb and work on that.
Cool.
Very cool. Our guest has been Ivan Kravets, founder and CEO of PlatformIO. You can contact even on LinkedIn to learn more about PlatformIO. Although, of course, you can go to platformio.org. I find it's much easier to remember if you call it platformio.org, then you don't get to platform.io, which we aren't going to talk about. So platformio.org. Thank you for being with us. Thank you to our patrons for Ivan's mic. We really appreciate your support. And if you'd like to support the show, go to embedded.fm and hit the support us link on the top bar. I also want to make sure to thank Valerie for convincing Ivan that this was a good idea. And thank you to Christopher for producing and co-hosting. Also, thank you for listening. You can always contact us at show@embedded.fm or hit the contact link on the embedded.fm website. And now a quote to leave you with. This one's from Shel Silverstein. And the poem is called Everything on It. There are no happy endings. Endings are the saddest part. So just give me a happy middle and a very happy start. Embedded is an independently produced radio show that focuses on the many aspects of engineering. It is a production of Logical Elegance, an embedded software consulting company in California. If there are advertisements in the show, we did not put them there and do not receive money from them. At this time, our sponsors are Logical Elegance and listeners like you.